fails a lot.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2021 first annual RoboMasters University League for North America. I'm Preston Kuna, and this is Matt, and we are back to bring you University of Washington versus the University of California, San Diego. Matt, break it down for us. What kind of teams have we got? What do we expect in this match?
We've got quite a game in front of us, and that's something I'm excited to see. We've seen a whole lot of really good games today, and that has been very nice to have a whole bunch of strong competition straight out of the gate, really showcasing how much time these teams spent after getting their warm-up feedback from yesterday, going back, spending possibly the entire night trying to edit stuff, spending the entire night tuning, tweaking, fixing, coding, all this stuff. Bang Energy really being the thing that's kept us all alive. But yeah, it has been something that's been very cool to be a part of, and all these teams are very happy to be here, very happy to be competing at their highest level that they possibly can. They've got all their robots tuned up to be peak performance.
That's
and
right.
That's what we're really looking forward to. We love seeing robots come out here performing at their peak after these robots have been worked on for a year, been worked on for way long, and have so many hours of manpower developing and processing and thinking and getting all the way through the design process in these robots, thinking about that strategy. This is a strategic game just as much as it is an engineering competition. You got to be able to drive, you got to be able to build, you got to be able to strategize. And those are the three things that'll put you on top.
Very true. For those of you who were with us during our last game, we got to see a very, very entertaining match from Virginia Tech and Texas A&M, and we anticipate having a very similar match during this game. So as you see these robots coming onto the field, both the red team, the University of Washington, and the blue team, UCSD, have both been competing in RoboMasters for about 3 years. So I expect this will be very similar to our last game, where we have 3 robots per side, hopefully all functioning, should be plenty of action, and that's what we love to see, right? This is the goal for a lot of our entry-level teams, our first-year teams that are just starting out, maybe only came this year with 1 robot, maybe 2 robots. This is their goal for the next year or two, and so as spectators, these are the matches that are extra hype for us to get to see. So right now we're taking a a look at these two teams and how it lines up. It should come down, like you said, Matt, to the strategy that each of these teams decide to employ.
Yeah, having 3 robots, both teams fielding a sentry, both teams looking like they have a turret on the sentry, which is something that's very cool, being able to have the auto defense on that sentry, the 100% autonomous robot that is able to move along that rail and is the bastion between your base and defeat.
Hey, shout out to Derek W. Where you at, Derek? Someone in the chat loves you very much. All right, guys, you can see, oh, he's a pilot. Oh, he responded. So you can see here that the teams are getting set up. It looks like we're having a bit of a robot ID issue. You can tell that by the color difference, right? So your red robots should be on the red side. The blue robots should be on the blue side. You can see on your screen, the blue base is next to a red robot. So they're going to have to reassign that robot ID of what's supposed to be Blue Hero 1. That way, all of the robots are on the correct side, and we don't have any sentry-friendly fire.
In the chat, we got a few seconds left on that prediction. It looks very even, only a 300 channel point difference on who will win. Cast your vote, wager some channel points, possibly win some, possibly lose some, but just put it in the chat who you want to win, predict who you want to win, and let us know. Because this is going to be a match to watch. We got 2 more sentries that are both moving along that rail. Very cool to watch. I'm always the biggest fan of those autonomous robots, those auxiliary robots that are not just the infantry ones. We love the infantry ones. They make the action happen, but also we could see another sentry kill.
Both of these teams are fielding sentries that are currently moving. You're getting a great view here of the University of Washington sentry moving back and forth on the rail autonomously. And that's why those colored armor panels are so important, to make sure that those are correct. These sentries not only use, obviously, the movement and the shape of the robots, but especially those LED colors and positions to determine what and when to shoot. So a shout out to Ace from UCSD as well. We love to see it from the chat. They love to hear it, guys. They've flown all the way down here to Texas in the middle of June. It's like 106 degrees outside, and they're here surviving the heat. They love that support from back home. If you're a friend, family, or just a person that is from their university, a student, just give them a shout out in the chat. We'll try our best to pass that along. Let them know that y'all are watching and supporting from home.
bit of a technical break here as we make sure that all the robots are 100% functional. We do not want to see any technical difficulties during the match, so it's always better to take a few more seconds before the beginning to make sure everything is working properly, make sure that everything is booted up, ready to go, not going to be any issues, and it's going to be a phenomenal 3v3 fully manned robot match.
Looks like our wonderful referee staff has resolved that issue. As you just saw leave your screen, the blue Hero 1 is again blue, as intended. Shout out to Saman. I don't know which team is on, but your school loves you too, bud. Great stuff. Oh, he's on UCSD. He's here. He hears ya. He appreciates it. Great stuff. Thank you, chat. Y'all are really the driving force for the RoboMaster stream. We really appreciate y'all. It's such a pleasure to be able to bring this content, and these teams love to have these audiences. It's always more entertaining. So thank you guys for being here. Make sure you smash that follow button. Because this is a very technical competition, sometimes we'll have some technical pauses that are longer. We don't anticipate that this one will be long. But if we do need to take a long break, we want you to get those notifications when we come back online. So go ahead, hit that follow button, hit that notification button so that you don't miss your team's matches.
Looks like the refs are stepping out of the arena, and it seems like we're going to be initializing pretty soon to jump into this first match after the break that is undoubtedly going to be action-packed.
Very true. All right, well, last game we saw some sentry kills. We also got a bit of information from Angel about how the health packs work, which I found very informational myself. So hopefully during this game we'll see both of those mechanics continue to be used for each of these teams. Like I said, mechanically they should be pretty evenly matched. We've seen the University of Washington doing some pretty good work. We did see in their first match of the day a little bit of technical issues with their hero's pitch. So hopefully they've been able to resolve that for this second match of the day.
UW also having the first sentry kill the first kill from the sentry of the NA competition, which is very impressive in and of itself. Those 100% autonomous robots being able to prioritize their targets, being able to aim at the targets, hit the targets even while they're moving around, doing a whole bunch of juking, maneuvering, whatever they're trying to do as they're trying to shoot at it. Both sentries moving on the rail means that it's actually going to be very difficult without using the help of auto aim with the computer vision to be able to hit those targets, because in this competition you have to hit those armor plates. If you do not hit those armor plates, it does not do any damage to the robot. You can hit the gun, you can hit the chassis, you can hit the light bar, and nothing's going to count unless it hits the numbered armor plates on those robots.
That's right. All right. Well, looking at the field, all of the drivers are out, all of the pit crew members are out. We should be just working now on the server side. Video transmission. Radika is one of our chief referees. We appreciate our referees who have been hopping in the chat every so often during this competition, letting us know what's going on. Radika says that the video transmission is getting fixed. So as a reminder, these robots are driven from a first-person view camera. So that means that Radika is saying that currently those pilots are not able to receive that first-person view feed. So as soon as those issues get resolved, this match will fire right on up.
Absolutely. We got some people stepping on the field to make sure that all these robots are working in tip-top shape. Once again, it is nice to take 30 seconds or maybe even a couple minutes to be able to make sure that everything's in working order before we go into this next match. That way both teams can compete at their maximum.
That's right. I'll use this time for one more shameless plug. If you're one of my fellow university students and you have the Amazon Prime student, go ahead, throw us that Amazon Prime sub. It won't cost you anything. We'll really appreciate it. Any of those proceeds from our ad revenue or our subs is going back to the teams that will be distributed to help these NA teams cover the costs of their robots, of their team travel, or whatever their team decides to spend it on. As you can imagine, this competition is extremely, extremely costly, both in monetary terms and in terms of time for these engineers.
As well as the volunteers. We cannot thank the volunteers enough for being here, helping us set up the arena, helping clean up the arena in between rounds. They've got their work cut out for them whenever all these projectiles start flying, and there's hundreds upon hundreds of projectiles of the 42mm and 17mm variety everywhere in that arena. They got to clean them up, make sure that they don't get in the way of the other robots as they are driving around. It looks like we're getting thumbs up from the referees.
Hey, Radika says in the chat that we're about to start. Thank you, Chief Referee Radika. All right, let's get some hype in the chat, guys. I hope you all voted in that prediction poll, because that poll is over. The match has started. It's too late now. No bandwagoning here. You picked a team, and now you've got to cheer for them. We've got the University of Washington playing against the University of California, San Diego. Let's go.
Absolutely. That loading bar is starting up, initializing those referee systems, and we are about to get this match underway.
Shout out to the dads in the chat and in person. We really appreciate it. But here's the match. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. That early strategy has been so important from both teams. You see the red team deciding to play a little bit cautiously. Red Hero 1 staying behind the barricade. Both of the blue robots from the University of Washington also playing cautiously. Both of these teams know that all of the robots should be extremely functional. Oh, look at that beautiful actuation from the University of Washington on the red side. That lid actuation to make sure that their 17mm projectiles don't fall out. We've got a little bit of light trading happening between both of the sentries and the heroes on these teams. All of them meeting in the middle. That's picking up pace pretty quick. You can hear those bullets hitting, those projectiles hitting the armor plates. There
Blue
they
sustaining
go.
a reasonable amount of damage. Blue Standard 3 almost about to die from the red Standard 3.
Blue Standard 3
Absolutely
dropping
pounding
very
it. There it
low.
goes.
Wow, great job from that red. Oh my goodness. And now the red team is taking shots at the blue sentry.
And those shots are connecting, putting the red team in the lead. Woo! There's the ball. I called
There's
it.
some
We were gonna get
projectiles
it.
flying at the commentator's stand. We apologize for the screaming. But a great job done from both of these teams. Excellent job from our red team, I believe is the University of Washington, pushing up so early, getting that early damage onto the sentry. A reminder that the sentry health is one of those win conditions, so if they can get that damage done and then defend, that will be sufficient for their match W. Both teams taking a second to pull back, heal, and reload their ammo. You're getting a cool look here. This is what the first-person view looks like from inside of, I believe this is the University of Washington hero, based on their heads-up display.
And you can see that health. You can see once they start shooting, you'll be able to see the barrel heat. You can see where you take damage from in that armor plate. Looks like a robot's going to be knocked offline on the blue team as well.
All
There's
right.
that spin to win tactic being
Wow.
employed in the middle there.
MVP of the match, definitely starting out as the red hero, red end standard for the University of Washington, as it gets another couple kills and then moves on to deal more damage to the sentry. Oh,
that
wow.
Sentry taking a decent chunk of damage. as
Doing
that
a ton of
accurate
damage to the
burst.
sentry from that red standard. Great job, University of Washington. The engineers, the pilots, just crushing it in this early game.
That is going to put red in the lead with the damage done to that sentry that is going to be permanent until the sentry is able to shoot. The sentry will have lifesteal if it connects any shots. That is the only way it gets its health back, but it also has a fixed amount of ammunition.
We now have the red standard from UW waiting to get back into that refill zone. Looks like he's used all of his 17mm projectiles. Watch this. They fill
Look
it
at
up.
that
Look at
fill
this
up.
lid. This lid makes me so happy. It's so satisfying.
Oh, wow, you're
Unless they forgot to close it. All right. Both UW and UCSD coming out, firing strong.
These great first-person shots as we're seeing these robots engage each other near the red base. And that's going to be a 1 kill for the red team. Can they make it 2?
Great push from the UCSD. Glad to see them taking that aggressive route, getting inside. That is what the death looks like as one of the pilots. You had that rare look into that first-person view. We now have red standard 3 again from UW taking more shots at the sentry as a couple of them fly towards the commentator stand once again. So exciting. Great to see. Excellent showing from both teams.
Substantial amount of damage, less than half health remaining on it. That is going to be almost offline. If they can knock that offline, that'll be huge, and that'll put the red team at a massive advantage over this blue team with only
We
a
are
minute
now
30
in the
left.
cockpit of the UW standard. Hopefully we'll get to stay in here and get a view of what it looks like to be taking those shots at the sentry.
As you can see, whenever you run into walls, you actually do take damage because the force sensors are the things that determine if you take damage or not. And that's going to be another death on the blue team from
Here we
those
go.
low health revives.
This is once again the UW standard coming up. You can see that the UCSD has done a great job on their sentry. It is moving, but it is taken out by the University of Washington standard, who is now moving on to the base.
Will this be the first base kill of the NA competition?
Oh my goodness. Look at that firing rate.
You can see that barrel heat as they start to exceed almost.
Insane accuracy coming across from the University of Washington.
The blue standard moving back to try to defend that base as the red standard is pounding that
Oh.
base with a lot of 17mm projectiles. He is now having to go refill ammo once again.
A few bumps exchanged there between the two standards on each side. A yellow card given across to, I believe, the University of Washington standard for ramming. Ramming is illegal in these matches as it is a health hazard to our robots, and we want them to be functional for all of the matches throughout the game.
30 seconds left, and it's going to take a lot for UCSD to be able to come back from this. They're going to need to take out the sentry and get base damage, and that means they're going to have to move very quickly.
Wow. Excellent showing from the University of Washington here, and still a great performance from UCSD. We love to see this team field all of their robots, be competitive, have that strategy. They did come back and defend their base and prevented the University of Washington from being able to finish that base off.
That would have been the first base death in the qualifying matches if they were able to get that off, but that blue defense being strong enough to push them back, and now that is going to be a pretty decisive red victory due to that strategic advantage.
Wow.
Very impressive match, very action-packed, so many projectiles. It's once again a ball pit in that arena. That is going to be a lot of work for our volunteers to get in there and start to try to sweep up.
That was a spicy round from our red-bearded turkey Hokies. I believe that is the mascot there. That incredible job from both teams. All right, Matt, let's break that match down. So obviously, University of Washington did an excellent job with their standard. We got to sit in the cockpit and watch it take that sentry out. We got to see them just with incredible accuracy unload on the base. What does UCSD need to do? We saw them start pretty passively, and then we saw them go for that more aggressive desperation play near the end of the match. What can they do this game to switch it up?
I think similar to the A&M match, they're going to have to play a little bit more defensively. Having an early death is very costly, especially if you're out of position, because you come back with only a little bit of health. That little bit of health does not last very long whenever there's accurate robots staring you down the second you get up and just making sure that you stay on the ground and are not able to do anything, because that seemed to be the case where the blue hero was mainly stuck in the middle and not able to move because he just kept getting knocked offline.
That's right. Well, great analysis. I agree with you. I think maybe more defensive play would work. They do have a sentry, and it's functional and moving, so they can play a little bit more around that so that they're always at a 3v2 numbers advantage. That's an option. In opposition to that, the best defense is sometimes a great offense.
Absolutely.
So perhaps UCSD's play will be to just push. If they can rush the base, get some early sentry damage onto UW, then as you're saying, then they can kind of turtle and just hold the line. And as long as you have more remaining sentry damage, they will be victorious. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do. Who do you think will win? You've seen the game. You've seen the first round. Are you rooting for the underdog? Do you think there can be a comeback in this best of two? How do you think it'll play out?
Once again in the chat, you can click that predict, wait some channel points on who you think is going to win. And that's going to be determined at the end. You might be able to double your channel points. You might be able to lose some. But that's the risk you're willing to take whenever you put your
boost
chips
the
on
spirits of UCSD. Throw them some points in the prediction. Give us some names. Let us know who you want to step up in this next match from UCSD and turn the tide.
I think currently we've got a kind of a meta revolving around getting that first kill. If you're able to take a strategic engagement that is very favorable for you, maybe mainly a 2v1 or having a fortified position, being able to attack, but also having at least some defense on most of your armor plates, that might be the tide turner, because if you can knock them offline, you just leave one of your robots that can keep them offline, and then that keeps one robot pretty much out of it, and you just got to check on them every once in a while to make sure that they're still bound.
Very true. All right, well, the referees are clearing the field again, getting all of the balls off of the ground. That way our robots can drive very freely and keep the excitement during the match as high as we can without having any technical issues. It should only be a few seconds until our next match starts to prep up. The pit crews do get 2 minutes. There's a little bit of information in between each match to check on the robots, to test any systems, perhaps fix any jams that might be happening in their robot's agitator, anything like that. But here we go. That period is already over. They're ready to go.
That match is already started.
And the University of Washington, we're getting a view of them leaving the base very nicely. A little bit more cautiously, just like last game, though. Both of the teams started our last match very cautiously.
Looks like blue team is going to be trying to line up to take a more favorable engagement on that hero.
Some early
who's
trading
have a harder
happening.
time hitting.
Damage coming across from both sides.
Looks like it's just a bit of posturing here as we are waiting for a hard push. Both teams being very cautious, knowing how costly that early death is, to be able to be in a much more favorable spot if you can, to not die in a bad spot that you can just keep repetitively getting knocked down in.
That's right. UW was able to deal a pretty significant amount of damage to the UCSD hero, as you can see their health bars on the top of your screen. Excellent first-person view cameras here. Reminder, this is how they drive. This is how they shoot. We're in the cockpit of that red team standard right now. I believe this is the UW standard that deals so much damage. Look at it plinking away every time that plate flashes. That's another connection between the projectiles and the armor plates. Ooh.
That hero ran into the wall and died. That is going to knock that hero offline, luckily in a favorable enough spot to be able to get revived, hopefully, and not be instantly killed, and is able to go hopefully repair at that repair zone on the corner of the map.
University of Washington is now starting to take shots at the Sentry, as our cameraman is showing you right here live in the action.
That Sentry taking a substantial amount of damage as it is really getting pelted by that red standard 3.
There it is.
Looks like he's going to have to go back and reload because he's all out of ammo. He has done a whole lot of shooting this match and gotten a ton of damage off.
Excellent job. Excellent job. Coming across from both teams. Functional robots firing on both sides.
Here's what it looks like as you are getting resupplied.
Yeah, reminder, there's no audio between these pit crew members and the drivers, and so they're going to have to use hand signals or just wait for that driver to step out of the field to figure out when they've been unjammed or refilled with ammunition.
Red Standard
UW coming straight back to the Sentry.
Putting out a lot of damage. That is half, that is quarter, that is almost all the way out on the Sentry.
Incredible firing rate, incredible accuracy. UCSD did a great job of making sure that their Sentry was functional and moving back and forth. A lot of our teams struggle with that autonomous motion here on the rail, but even so, UW has been able to keep a pretty high percentage of accuracy on a moving Sentry. It was a very impressive feat. I've tried myself, Matt, and I can tell you that's a difficult shot to make. You're looking up, it's wiggling back and forth. It's quite tough. The Standard takes out that blue hero so quickly. Wow, and then moves straight on back to the Sentry.
Once again, another Sentry kill, and the hero falling. That leaves the 2v1 situation for that blue Standard 3. Looks like it's going to get pinched by both the robots, taking a lot of damage, and that's going to be knocked offline with a double kill and a Sentry kill, leaving the base completely exposed. The hero coming on back online for a little bit with only a small amount of health. Let's see how this plays out. The absolute
great job.
The absolute melt on the base. You're watching that health points drop. That is 5 damage points per shot of the 17mm projectiles on that base. That is a lot of work already put into it, coming down to about 1850 health.
Red Standard 3 from the University of Washington is definitely the MVP of this match, Matt. He's done an incredible job of taking out the Sentry. He's gotten several kills, has come back refilled very quickly, has just been the main player of the entire match. So I hope they've got something special planned for him for lunch. Absolutely incredible. Another kill coming across from this Red Standard 3 onto that blue hero, and now he's turned his sights to the blue 3 Standard.
Minute 22. Will this be the first base kill of the qualifying
There it is. Another double kill from
region?
that Red Standard 3 from UW, and they're moving on now to the base.
Let's see if they can get that hero
at that
into
rate of
position.
fire. Absolutely incredible.
If that hero can get into position to be able to hit that base, that is 200 damage a shot versus 5 damage a shot that the 17mm projectiles are currently doing to that blue base. Absolutely shredding the base.
I mean, I am speechless. I'm just in awe of the mechanical engineering that has gone into this Red Standard 3. Its firing rate is incredible. Its accuracy is incredible. It's been able to really perform and carry the team on the back.
30 seconds left. Will this be the first base kill, or will it be another low health base or kill or low health base victory, as we saw earlier against the
Looks like the feeding mechanism of the red hero might be having a few issues, which may be why we haven't seen them take golf ball shots at this base. It's all right.
Regardless,
the University of Washington, that Red Standard 3 sure is picking up any of the slack that might be there due to a technical issue during this match.
Treat that man to a steak dinner when he goes home. 8 seconds left in the match. Going to be nigh impossible for UCSD to be able to recover.
The prediction in chat is winding down, and it's actually pretty close in chat, and we appreciate that. We share your sentiment. It is a red team victory, but we always love to see these close matches.
Absolutely phenomenal match, action-packed, turned the arena into a ball pit once again. And we've actually got a highlight screen for UW.
There we go. You can see some of the engineers and the drivers for the University of Washington. You've got the pilots here, the developers for each of the Sentry, the Standard, and the Hero for the University of Washington. Shout out to all of them, as well as a shout out to the rest of their team. Great job, the University of Washington. The chat's hyped for you. We're hyped for you. Just absolutely crushing it that round.
There's the live stats coming in. Total damage done, 1,600 damage. Just about.
Very consistent damage from the two matches. You can see in that first match, they also did about 1,300 damage. Second match, about 1,600 damage. Their Sentry did take some damage during that first round, which, you know, another shout out to UCSD for being able to put some of that damage across the board. In a lot of our earlier matches, that, you know, 50 or 60 damage they did to the Sentry would have been enough to get the win. Not against the University of Washington today, however.
Absolutely. That was a very good performance from both teams. All the robots being able to be functional. Not really seeing a whole lot of shooting action from the UCSD Sentry, but the rail, it was still moving on the rail. It still made that target very hard to hit, just like we saw with the red team on the first match of the day, where it was very hard for them to be able to hit that Sentry while it's moving. Just like you were saying, Preston, you've been there, you've done that. You've had to try to manually aim at that, and
it is very tough. It's a tough shot to make, but the University of Washington has made it a little easier on their pilot because the robot accuracy was incredible.
Absolutely.
So again, great job from the University of Washington. Let's talk a little bit about UCSD. They also did a great job. Like I mentioned, the Sentry health on the University of Washington side was taken down some for match 1 and match 2, and that really is a big deal, y'all. I know these matches felt a little bit one-sided, but UCSD really did have a great showing here. The match that they just put forward will be enough to put them, if they're able to continue and maintain that level of performance, it will be enough to place them in the middle of the pack for our NA competition.
Absolutely, and that'll guarantee you a spot in the eliminations where anything can happen, because sometimes stuff does go wrong, and sometimes that jams, and you're not able to have a 200 damage per shot round, like, hero to be able to take out that base, and if that sometimes can be the loss of your win con. Having
That's
that
right.
basically siege battery is what Angel was saying earlier, and I totally agree with. Having that siege battery on those structures to be able to secure that win con, 200 damage a shot for those 42mm projectiles. That's a lot of damage. That's what, 20 standard shots?
So many. And on that note, that's one thing that we hope to see the University of Washington come back with, right? They've done a great job. Their hero is there, but again, wasn't shooting those massive damage shots at the base. And so that could be a strategic decision, but I expect that it's a mechanical issue that they were having. So hopefully they'll have time today to be able to fix that issue for those later rounds, as we expect them to go pretty far in this competition if they're able to maintain this level of performance. But like I'm saying, I think this level of performance is just a stepping stone for the University of Washington.
Absolutely.
They should be able to get that hero shooting and deal much more overall damage per second as a team.
Sadly, UCSD was not on the other side to be able to get shot by that Sentry if it was active and able to actually track and shoot those targets. That is always what I'm interested in seeing, because I love seeing those autonomous things work, man. That is so scary, being in front of one of those things, holding one of those sensors and just like moving it around and watching the barrel of that thing just track straight with it. It is terrifying to watch, and it's very, very cool to me.